Urban legends that will haunt you. The dead boyfriend. A girl and her boyfriend were making out in his car in the middle of the woods so that way no one could see them. When they were done, the boy got out to go pee while the girl safely waited in the car. After waiting for 5 minutes, the girl got out of her car to go search for her boyfriend, but then she saw a shadow and returned to the car. Once back in the car, she started to hear a very faint squeak, squeak, squeak. This continued for a few more seconds until she got so scared she had to drive off. She hits the gas as hard as she could, but the car doesn't go anywhere because there's a rope tied from the bumper to a tree. She slams on the gas again, but then hears a loud scream. She gets out of the car and realizes that her boyfriend is hanging from the tree. And the squeaky noises were his shoes slightly scraping the roof of the car.
If she ever asks you this one question, always say no. A hospital receptionist was working late one night when he saw a strange figure approach him in the darkness. When they came closer, it appeared to be a pale woman with a wide smile and soaking black hair. The receptionist asked the woman if she was there to see someone. She simply nodded and said, "Do you reject the Trinity?" He replied, "I'm sorry." She then slowly backed away and left. A few hours passed, and a little girl came to his desk from her hospital room. He asked her if she was feeling alright, and she said that she did not like the new nurse. He said, "Sweetie, what do you mean?" And she told him that the nurse was asking all the children the same question, and they were all chanting yes, yes, but she was too afraid to answer. The man then sprinted to the hallway where the children were staying, and none of them were to be found. The hospital then went into lockdown, and the only remains of the children were their clothes laying on their bed.
The real story behind The Corpse Bride. Now, the movie is Victor gets accidentally married to a corpse, but that's not what actually happened. 53-year-old Carl once had a vision that he was supposed to marry a tan woman with black hair and went looking for her all over the world until he found her dying in a hospital. She had tuberculosis, so he claimed he was a nurse and that he was going to take care of her at her house. He wasn't a nurse. When she died, he paid for the tombs that have a door where he can walk in and talk to her. One day, when he was talking to her, he swore he heard her talk back to him. So he took her back to his house, stuffed her with coat hangers, and lived with her normally. He'd eat with her, he'd sleep next to her, he'd do things I can't even mention with her. One day, his neighbors got suspicious, so they reported him, and the police raided his house, and this is what they found. I'm gonna show her picture dead, so don't look if you don't want to. She was falling apart, and he thought she was his wife. That went on for 7 years. He died at 75 years old.
Remember, your Amazon Alexa is always listening. In 2018, a girl named Alexa came home to her apartment to find her creepy stalker landlord in her kitchen. She screams and threatens to call the cops, and he just smiles and says, "I was just checking in on you," and leaves. Feeling totally sketched out, she spends the next few hours down the hall in her friend's apartment before finally going back to her room to go to bed. That night, she woke up to her Amazon Alexa responding to someone in the room. It said, "I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. Did you say I'm watching you?" The girl instantly turns on her lights and looks around, but no one's there. So she unplugs Alexa and is about to go back to sleep when she hears what sounds like a man grunting in her closet. As she's staring at her closet, her Alexa turns back on.
This is why you should never go to the bathroom during the middle of the night. In 1997, a 7-year-old boy and his younger brother had a habit of using the bathroom during the middle of the night. One day, the younger brother said that he was going to start using the bathroom before bed because the past few nights he'd seen a ghost wearing stripes in the middle of the hallway. The older brother told his mom about the ghost, but she claimed that the younger brother was simply trying to scare him. 11 years later, the older boy's mother asked him if he remembered the time that the cops came to the door, but he had no idea what she was talking about. The mother then explained, "You were too young for me to tell you, but one night I woke up and heard noises coming from outside my window. I looked to my left and saw a man staring into my window. She called the cops and described him as a thin white male wearing a striped shirt. Her description matched that of a murderer who had recently escaped from prison. The police reported that he had been living in the house for weeks."
Boom. The thing goes grrr.